Hello again, it's Lock Noob and it's time for another Banggood.com review. In front of you are a set of tools which I actually own the previous incarnation of. These are Tubular lockpick impressioning tools. A tubular lock, I hear you say? What is one of those? Well, it's one of these, and you see these around quite a lot. They're relatively ubiquitous. They're generally on low security applications, but sometimes found on bike locks and vending machines and all sorts of things. However, as with all locks, you do get different levels of security with different security pins and spring tensions and all these kind of things. If you look, the pins in this lock are exposed and vertical, so that you would put, or I suppose in this way they'd be mounted horizontally, and you put in a key, a tubular key, push it in, turn, and the cam at the back in this lock opens. The pins, just like with any pin tumbler lock, all have to be set to the correct height, and that depends on the cutting or the bitting of the key. You see here, this very deep cut means that this key wouldn't push that pin down very far, while these pins here are almost zero cut and they'll be pushed the furthest in. If you have a lock which doesn't have any security pins and doesn't have variable spring tension on each of the pins, you have a good chance of opening it with an impressioning tool and impressioning it. Why do you have three tools? Well, they're not exactly the same. If you look here, you've got a 7mm, and that is the diameter of the tip. I'm just going to put that to one side, and we also have a 7.5mm. I'm going to keep that one, and we also have a 7.8mm. Now, I've found that a lot of the tubular locks I come across tend to be the 7.5. However, as with all locks, there is variance between manufacturers and types. The idea of having three is to maximize your chances of being able to use a tool on a lock and get an open. So let's just concentrate on one, since apart from the diameter they're all identical. And what do you get? Well, you have a handle, you also have a button, and you see at the moment nothing happens. Press a button and I can plunge. It's a bit stiff, but this is brand new. I imagine that I would probably put a bit of graphite powder or oil on this just to and use it a few times, give it a few plunges to kind of get it kind of working and a bit looser. Then you have these little, if I move it up, these little sliding feelers or probes, and if I just use my nail to push it back up, you can see that all, I believe, 7 of these are free moving. Now, they are under tension. There's a collet here, and if I was to undo it, I don't know whether you'll be able to see underneath, but there's a little rubber ring. Oh, you can here. Little rubber ring. As you screw this collet down, it compresses the rubber ring. The rubber ring adds a little bit more compression to these probes, and therefore you increase the resistance of them. That does matter because you've got to dial it in. I find that you basically turn it till it naturally stops, and that's usually enough. You can give it a quarter turn more maybe, but don't add too much pressure to this, otherwise you'll end up just binding these probes. The plunger sets them to 0, which is really useful. So you just push it down and it pushes all the feelers or probes to 0, so you can see that they are now all the way around. Each one of these probes or feelers will interact with one pin, and the idea is you would line it up. The flat spot here, which doesn't have any pins, lines up with the probes, lines up with this part of the lock here, just there, and you've got to be a bit careful with that. And the idea is what you do is you go in, you push it down, and then you turn left and right relatively firmly and keep going until you get an open. Can take a minute or two. So let's have a go. Line it up nicely, push it down, and keep turning back and forth. And if you notice, can you see those probes and feelers are just moving up to different positions? That is where they are taking an impression of the inside of the lock. Depending on how much tension you've applied to the probes depends on how long it takes to actually do this impressioning. But like I said, it usually takes a minute or two. Can take a little quicker. Sometimes just letting off and going back in again. I should have put this in a vise really. And there we go. We've got an open. Now the clever thing with this is, take it back out of that position. Now tighten the collet without touching the probes at all. Now what you can do is you can use this as a key. I've locked in place now these probes, they shouldn't move. So now if I go back in, where am I? Where's the top? Like that. Go in, push down, it acts like the key. I've taken an impression of the lock. If I want to measure these now, then I should be able to cut a key. If we compare the two, you can see that we've got sort of zero cut, and then pin 3 and 4 here are lower, cut just like this. 5 is deep, 6 is 0 again, just as you have here, and 7 is a medium cut, just like we have. So we have actually impressioned this key. So this is I mean, it works. This kit works. It's not the finest and smoothest version of these around, but you're getting 3 for £22 with the 20% off voucher, which you'll find in the description below. You can get these for I'm trying to do the maths in my head. It's somewhere around £18 or thereabouts. It's really very good. If you would like one of these, then please just like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Actually, is it like, subscribe up there, isn't it? And leave a comment below. Read the rules. I'll draw a name at random in a week or so's time, and if you win and live in a region where lockpicking equipment is legal, I will send these to you. If you want to purchase some of these, please follow the link and use the voucher code below. I think they work really well. I like this kit. Okay, I'll see you next time.